Is there another car that defines an era more than this car defines the 1980s?
By the way, this is the first time I've been in your DeLorean.
That's crazy, considering how many times you've been around the DeLorean.
Yeah, in fact, I've never been in a DeLorean.
Really?
Nope.
So you were a DeLorean virgin.
Yeah, until this moment. I'm breaking my cherry right now, and
oh, I'm so proud.
this car is cool. I mean, yeah, we've been following behind you for a while, and this car looks really good going down the road.
Yeah, you know, when driving the car, it's great. You know, the interior's fine or whatever, but I think like the beauty of the car is, you know, seeing it like on the big screen, dressed as a time machine. But like when we go in a group, when we get the DeLorean Club together, when we go in a group, seeing the cars driving down the road is the highlight of,
yeah, they look really good. They're low, wide. You know, it's actually a very small car. I mean, it's roomy. Like in here, this is not. I mean,
yeah,
it's plenty of room. But when you see it, like, you know, amongst the traffic, it just looks cool going down the road. Its style is very neat, yeah. You know, and it's just cool to see, and it has a lot of nostalgia to it. The interior and all that. I mean, it's just dated as can be. But what do you expect? This is 1980s, like perfection.
Yeah. This I was thinking the other day, is there another car that defines an era more than this car defines the 1980s?
I would say it might be, maybe it's on par with, say, how the Trans Am was so much about the 70s, but that's probably from Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Again, movie car. And does that kind of go with maybe, I think sometimes movies influence a lot of like what stands out in your memory, you know, as far as cars go.
100%. And I think, you know, there's a big debate going around right now that would this car be as famous
without the movie?
Without the movie.
I'll tell you this. You know, I was I think around a freshman in high school when this car. What's the first year? 81.
81.
Yeah. So 81. I was like around a freshman in high school, and like I can tell you that there was nothing as exciting that year as this car. Like the DeLorean was talked about.
Right.
I mean, it was nuts. I mean, there were other cars that were cool. I mean, you know, the 81 Corvette was pretty nice, you know. I mean, for the time, you know, you look back at it now and you're like, it wasn't that big of a deal, the 81 Corvette. But it was cool styling, man. My dad had an 80 Corvette. It was cool.
Yeah.
This car, though, came out, and this is what people were talking about because it was so different. You know, the gull-wing doors. And that's before the movie. That's years before the movie.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of talk. It had a lot of street cred, you know, from coming out. I think this car still would have a whole lot of popularity today, but no, it would not be as big without the movie. Because the movie, like you see this, everybody, that's the first thing they mention.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's Back to the Future.
Yeah, when you're driving the car, it's McFly, where's the flux capacitor? Don't do 88. You know?
Every bit of it.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, not only that. Now that being said, had that movie been a failure, it would have probably it would have been no difference, right? The car would have, you know, gained whatever popularity it did. But that movie, because it was not only was the car in the movie, it was sort of a character of the movie, and the movie was insane in popularity. You know, 1985, I think it came out.
Yeah.
And it was insane, like how great of it. Or, you know, it's Zemeckis and Spielberg putting something together. You know, it's going to be a great deal. So
for sure, the car gained more popularity because of the movie. However, would the movie been as popular if it wasn't for if the DeLorean didn't exist?
You know, I've heard stories about the selection of the car for the movie because the DeLorean, I don't think, was their first choice to make for the time machine of the car.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a refrigerator.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was supposed to be a refrigerator, but then they were concerned about kids locking themselves in refrigerators.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, they would.
So then
they eat Tide Pods.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now they eat Tide Pods. But so what happened was the Ford Motor Company kind of got wind of the movie and what they were doing and said, hey, we will give you some Ford Mustangs and some cash to use the Mustang in the movie. and Bob Gale got on the phone with Ford and said, Doc Brown doesn't drive a Mustang. So that's apparently one of the notorious things, and that story was being told by Bob Gale himself.
Bob came in the office one day and he said, Bob, messing around with this refrigerator, getting it on the truck, getting it off the truck, wouldn't it be better if the whole thing, if Doc built the time machine into a car, and then we don't have to do that? I said, yeah, you're right. And then he said, and what if the car was a DeLorean?
So, yeah, it seemed that it had to be this car. And of course, the famous line of the movie when Marty looks at him and says, you made a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
And he goes, and then Doc starts to begin to say, if you're gonna go into the future, why not do it with some style?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
And then it actually starts to really explain why the DeLorean, and then his timer went off and Einstein came back, so he got cut off.
Besides, the stainless steel construction made the flux dispersal. Look out!
He was going to explain as to why
the
stainless steel was required and get into that, which is obviously, just great writing and whatnot. But that one scene, the car coming off the trailer, Twin Pines Mall, that just changed the trajectory of this car for sure. But at the same time, man, like if this car did not look like it does, it would not be in the movie. If John DeLorean created a car that looked different than this,
yeah, looking back on this car, it was cool back then. It wasn't considered to be like, sort of what I would call today a failure in the horsepower department, because everything around back then was way underpowered.
Yeah.
So what's this thing go for? 130 horsepower, you say?
130 horsepower.
Yours is a little modified.
Yeah, it's got some long tube headers and straight through exhaust with no catalytic converters. Maybe add 20 horsepower to that, but it's still nothing compared to the other vehicles that I have.
It's got that Peugeot-Renault-Volvo motor. What is that thing, 2 liters?
It's a 2.8 liter V6.
We were talking earlier today about the wheels. This thing has 14-inch rims on the front. Yeah. They look like quarters.
Yeah.
15's on the rear.
15's on the rear. It's when you start to compare that to what we see in modern times, it's mind-blowing how tiny these tires are with giant sidewalls like a monster truck.
One cool thing about driving around in it that I've noticed today is that this car, it garners a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah.
People drive by, there were people taking pictures, they pull up taking pictures. We were outside of a gas station, guy walked up, I've never even seen one in my life, And so, which I find shocking that there are people that have still never seen one, but they are a rare piece of machinery. They're not a lot running around out there.
No, and the other thing too is that a lot of owners, they just they don't take them out that much,
Right.
And it's unfortunate because these cars, people love seeing them and the reaction's great, but they just they're not obviously not practical. You're not going to be daily driving it, so that's another reason why they don't go out so much.
We've got fellow YouTuber Ashley Vaughn. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should take her for a ride in the car.
Take Ashley for a ride?
You guys have you got something to talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's throw her in the car.
Okay.